Alright, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Just leaving the gym. It's like 11 o'clock. It was push day, and I got here at like 9:30 this morning because I was up late last night because we went to the fair. The fair is here, and it was pretty cool. I mean, we just walked around and we saw my aunt and uncle and great grandma, and then had some food with them, which me and my dad got these Italian sausage sandwiches that were so good, and they had like onion and pepper on them, like grilled onion and pepper, and it was amazing sausage. And then my mom let me try a bite of her Philly cheesesteak sandwich, and it was really good. And then I'd never had deep fried Oreos before, so I tried one of those. I only wanted half of one, but they made me eat two halves, which made a whole. And then my dad bought these like red velvet donuts that I didn't try because I was like, I can't do any more sweets, man. And then my sister and her friend had an elephant ear and a funnel cake, and they're like, you want any of this? I'm like, no, I can't do it. Just that one deep fried Oreo was too much. It was really good, but I should not have had it. But anyways, at the gym I finished the Diary of a CEO with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about, because he's like a really famous author, and he's written a lot of really like successful books and stuff, and most of them are about finding your why. But he was talking about how like most people think that he's really well read, like he reads a lot of books, and they always ask him like, oh, what book are you reading right now? What's your favorite book? And he used to just like answer it with like one of the few books that he's finished, but he said he's written more books than he's like finished reading. And he was saying that's because he has like ADHD or whatever, ADD. And he was talking about how before he was saying this, he was talking about how every characteristic has advantages and disadvantages depending on the context. Like, one example he gave was that when he was at this networking event, when he was a younger entrepreneur, and this guy wanted to work with him, so this guy gave him his business card, but Simon is really disorganized, he said. So he said almost as soon as he got the business card, he lost it. And he wanted to call or text him or email him like in the taxi on the way back to wherever from that event. But he didn't have the business card, but then he ended up finding it 2 weeks later at the bottom of a briefcase because he's so disorganized. And then when he reached out to that guy that gave him the card, and the guy wanted to work with him even more, he said, because that guy thought that he was busy. And I mean, that's a really specific example. And like, there's not many other circumstances where being disorganized would be beneficial. But like, just the idea of that. And then going back to when I was talking about how he talked about his ADHD and not reading books because he can't keep his attention on things very long, especially reading books. But that he didn't mention this, but I connected it to that because that was an advantage, because he said when he's editing his own books that he writes, because he has to read his own books, but when he goes through, and if something isn't holding his attention, then he just takes out the part because it doesn't hold his attention enough. So that's like a super big beneficial thing for him as an author, because then it appeals to more people, like the people who can hold their attention, it holds their attention better, and then the people who have trouble with their attention, it holds their attention too, because it holds his own attention. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool how that all connects. But like, he didn't say that it connected, so I don't know if he like put that together, said that on purpose, but it was pretty cool. So use your characteristics as, figure out where they help you and how they could possibly help you, and then do that, implement that in your life. Like how I've been talking about how I want to become like more extroverted and stuff, and that's true. Like, I think that would be beneficial for networking, obviously, But being introverted, just thinking about it now, and I hadn't put much thought into this before this, right now at this moment, but thinking about it, being introverted probably places a more emphasis on the person that you're talking to at the moment, because you're better at like one-on-one conversations in small groups as an introvert. So then focus on one person, and then it's a higher quality relationship compared to the quantity that most extroverts have. So that's pretty cool. See, right there, I just applied it to my life, and see if you could do the same. And then I was listening to Alex Hormozy's video, like his most recent video, where it was he has a presentation that he posted on YouTube where he was giving it to like a classroom of people. I don't know where it was. It must have been like a event or something that he put on, but he was talking about like how to get so rich that like you don't know what to do with it, kind of thing, was what the title was, something along those lines. And he gave a bunch of different reasons, like, or a bunch of different things, where it was one of them was why new things are keeping you poor, which went back to focus, and why you should focus on one thing. Pick one thing and focus on that one thing. And because you can have, if you do something, the same thing, one thing, from like 20 years over and over again, you're going to be really, really good at that one thing, even though it's not like an exciting thing. It's not something that like is cool. But if you focus on it, then you'll grow it so fast, or not fast, but you'll be so much better in that area. And like he was talking about, he brought out the list of like top self-made women on Forbes or whatever, and they're like all over 60 years old, and they're all like really boring businesses, like roofing, medical, software, IT. One was Little Caesars, and it's like all really boring businesses. And then he was talking about his friend that was from high school that he hadn't talked to in a long time, and then his friend just randomly called him up one day and was like, yeah, I have this roofing business, and I really want to know how to scale it, because we're doing this thing, but it's not really growing at all. And then he's like, well, we also do general contracting work, and then he paused, and then he said, and we do some house flipping stuff too. And he's like, well, that's why you're not growing, because if you just focus on one thing and develop that one thing, then you would be, if you focused on it, you would develop that thing into an amazing product, that like a huge business, if you get what I'm saying. It's hard to like put in his exact words. So focus on one thing for a long time, and that's how you become the best, and the best always make the most money. And another thing that I heard a while ago that I wanted to talk about was Luke Belmar always talks about the Elon Musk quote, which is like, you get paid in proportion to the problem that you solve. So if you want to make more money, solve a bigger problem. And that makes so much sense, because like I was thinking about real estate, because I'm really thinking about going into real estate. But then what's the problem that you solve in real estate? And it's like, for residential, or like houses that people live in, like houses and stuff, you're providing people with a place to live, which is a big problem, but it's like, it's on a small scale, because it's per individual family, so it's a small group. But like, if you think about the commercial real estates, generally make a lot more money, because the problem they're solving is these companies that need these buildings, where they have teams of people, like hundreds of people, instead of just families of 4. And so the problem that you're solving is much bigger, so you get paid a lot more. And this is a lot of free game in this video. So just take that and use it, put it into your life. And Alex Hormozy was also talking about, at the beginning of the video, he was talking about how like comparing 2 different people calling people. and going down the list and making everything more even, where he started out like asking, well, who's going to be more successful, the person that calls 10 times or the person that calls 100 people? And it's like, well, obviously the person that calls 100 people. And then he's like, okay, let's make it even. Let's say they both call 100 people. You know, who's going to be more successful? And he said, well, the guy who has a better calling list, like better customers on the list. And so he's like, well, let's make it even. Let's say they both have the same list. Now, who's going to do better? Who's going to be more successful calling? And he said, the person with the better offer. And he's like, okay, so let's even that out. So let's say they have all those things the same. Well, who's going to be more successful? The guy that's done more calls in the past, who's done like the 10,000 calls before this call. And he just kept going down the list and on and on and on. And there's always going to be someone that does some aspect of something better, whether it's experience or better position or better offer that they have. But you just like, that's just things you have to be aware of and work on them and fix them, and then you become that person. And it's just, it was a cool video. I haven't finished it yet. I'll probably finish it tomorrow at the gym, but it was really cool, and I'll probably listen to it again because he has a lot of good stuff in there. Oh, and he was also talking about the woman in the red dress, like in the Matrix. He says, like, when you have to be able to, like, notice that you want something, but then not act on it, and then focus on what you need to do. Like, he gave the example of when his company, Gym Launch, was doing like 27 million in sales or in revenue 1 year. And then he's like, okay, so I'm going to start a supplement company. So he started a supplement company, and it brought his revenue, his total revenue for everything, up to like 47 million. And he said, but Gym Launch stayed the same. And that supplement company, like, even though it did really well and it made him a lot, it stopped the growth of his focused product. And you have to be willing to say no to those distractions, because now he had both of those at that level, and the chances were that they were just going to stay at that level. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up the video now because it's getting really long. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Make sure you join the Discord, link in the description. It's Online Brotherhood. We talk about a bunch of things in life. Share the video with a friend. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.